exceptionally exquisite mood because my better half, my beautiful devotee wife, Varuni Devi Dasi, has accompanied me to encourage and enthuse. And on top of that, my godbrother, Prabhanu Das, and his devoted wife, Panchajani, have also come. Let's give them all a big Hari Bol. So, tonight, I was requested to speak on the topic of Bhakti Yoga. And for Bhakti Yoga, I don't need my computer. Somebody will be happy about that. Get it while you can, because this is a rare experience. Let us begin. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We could try to do it together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, different processes are recommended. There is Karma Yoga. There is Jnana Yoga. There is also Hatha Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. But if we analyze the Gita objectively, all 18 chapters, all 700 shlokas, the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is Bhakti Yoga. In the 8th chapter, Krishna says, you want to come to me, you want to see me, Bhakti Yoga. At the end of the 11th chapter, when Krishna has completed his display of the universal form, and Arjuna, he requests Krishna, take away this form and show me your four-armed form, and then show me your two-armed form, which Krishna did. And then, at the end of that 11th chapter, Krishna again repeats the same instruction, that if you want to come to him, if you want to know him, if you want to understand him, then the process is Bhakti Yoga. And then, at the end of the 18th chapter, towards the end, again the answer is given by Krishna, that one can go to the kingdom of God only by Bhakti Yoga. But now we must understand what we mean by Bhakti Yoga. Is it simply some emotion? Is it simply some feeling? What is Bhakti Yoga? So, there is a acharya on the science of Bhakti Yoga. His name, Narada Muni Bhajaya Veena RadhaRaman Name. Narada Muni is the Bhakti Shakti avatar. There are various categories of avatar, actually 6 categories of avatar. One of them, Shakti Avesh. And there are different examples, such as Veda Vyas. He is Shakti Avesh to compile and compose the Vedic literatures and put them and edit them and have them written down for the benefit of the people of Kali Yuga with the assistance of Ganeshji. So, Narada Muni is one of the authorized Shakti-Avesh avatars, and he is the Bhakti Shakti, empowered by Krishna to deliver the science of bhakti. He has composed one Shastra, the Narada Bhakti Sutras. Very nice. And what is, shall we say, interesting? If you read the Gita, again, objectively, if you read Narada's Bhakti Shastras, if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, if you read all of the books that highlight the process of bhakti, then the conclusion is always the same. Whether you go this way or that way, this way or that way, when it comes to bhakti yoga, it comes to the same conclusion. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. That Krishna is the original, supreme personality of Godhead, which he himself states more than once in his Bhagavad Gita. So, Narada gives a very scientific definition of bhakti. Scientific. And this statement of Narada is also quoted by Lord Chaitanya in his teachings to his disciples and in his preachings. Very, very powerful verse. Rupa Goswami included it in the beginning of his book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And by the way, Prabhupada said that Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or Nectar of Devotion, is the law book for ISKCON. Some people think, ISKCON is just simply an international society for rules and regulations. But Prabhupada said this Nectar of Devotion is the law book for his movement. And what does that Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, explain? Whatever Rupa Goswami heard directly from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he then went as instructed. Lord Chaitanya instructed him. I have given you the foundation. Now you go, scour, search through all the Vedas and Puranas and histories, and give the Shastric references for all the things I have instructed you. Rupa Goswami was instructed at Prayag for 10 days by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that is the nucleus of that Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, one of the opening statements by Rupa Goswami is this verse by the Bhakti Shastra, or shall we say Bhakti Shakti Avatar Narada. Sarva upadi vinir muktam tat padat vena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchyate. Bhakti uchyate. What is known, what is called, what is described bhakti? Here Narada gives the science. Sarva upadi vinir muktam. First order of business, get off the material platform. Get off the concept of caste, creed, designation. The mere fact that we have a material body is itself a designation. Why? Because let's look at Bhagavad Gita. Krishna does not begin his instructions in the Gita talking about Rasa Leela. No. What does Krishna begin with? Sankhya. Distinguishing between matter and spirit. distinguishing between what is eternal and what is temporary, distinguishing the difference between the body and mind and the soul. So the first order of business, if one wants to execute bhakti, is to get off the bodily concept of life. And if you, like I do, if you study Prabhupada's speaking, his lectures, presently I am studying his initial lectures when he arrived in New York in 1966. And as I study those lectures, something becomes very apparent in his preaching. He's hammering this point. You're not the body. Your spirit, soul. You're not your mind. You are eternal servant of Krishna. Over and over and over in so many discussions. In the beginning of his teachings in New York, this is the theme. Because there's no question of going on to further topics until this is settled up. So when it says Sarva Upadi Vinir Muktam, it means stop thinking in terms of the material world. I am man. You are woman. I'm a Americano. I'm Hindu. Like we see right now, what's happening, the war right now, is all based on the bodily concept of life, designation. But if you want to do bhakti, and you should want to do bhakti, then first order of business, get off the material bodily conception of life. Now, the next statement, Tat Padatvena Nirmalam. Situate yourself in a pure state of existence. What does that mean? Well, notice in the 7th chapter of the Gita, Krishna says, Yesham tu antikatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandam moha nirmukta. Same thing, it's the same concept. Krishna is saying that if you want to engage in his service with dridhavrata, determination, then again, you have to become free from sinful life. And our spiritual master, who is here in this temple, where's my bell? Srila Prabhupada, may you live forever in this temple. Right, Pagani? Srila Prabhupada ki. Tatpadadvena Nirmala means that the beginning of that is to follow a religious life based on 4 principles. Now, Prabhupada used to say, this life, the sinful life, is like a house with 4 pillars. House rests on pillars. The roof rests on pillars. So there are 4 pillars of sinful life, and there are 4 pillars of religious life. So the 4 pillars of sinful life: animal slaughter, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. Or nowadays I just say Las Vegas, because that's the capital city of all these sinful acts. It's the Mecca for the non-devotees. And what are the 4 pillars to replace these sinful pillars? Truth, cleanliness, austerity, compassion. These are the 4 pillars of religious life. So, if you knock down the 4 pillars of sinful life, the roof of sinful life comes crashing down. Now you are situated in a pure state. And you are nourishing that by establishing those 4 pillars of truthfulness, cleanliness, compassion, and austerity. So those are the first 2 things. Get off the dualistic, materialistic, bodily concept of life. Situate yourself in a pure state of existence. Now comes the major line. Rishikena, Rishikesha Sevanam. So the word Rishik appears twice. Rishikena and Rishika Isha. So Rishikena means with your senses. There are 11 senses. There are 5 executive senses: hands, legs, throat, genital, anus. Those are the working senses or executor senses. Then you have knowledge acquiring senses, also 5. Ears, that's in spiritual life. Hearing is the most important aspect. Everything begins by hearing from who? The rascal on the television? No. Hearing from Acharya. That's where the hearing begins. From the Acharya, from the spiritual master. Or directly from Krishna. In what book? Nobody knows? Bhagavad Gita, thank you. Yes, Bhagavad Gita. Something that's not imported from China. Bhagavad Gita comes from your country. Of course, they may print it. That's another thing. But the actual knowledge, the actual book, is India's gift to the world. Okay. So, then there's the 11th sense. I mentioned the 5 knowledge acquiring. Ears, eyes, nose, tongue, and skin, or the sense of touch. That's how we gather knowledge. But then there's the hidden or internal sense that we cannot see, but we know it's there. Mana, the mind. I can't see your mind. I can't tell if you like what I'm saying or don't like what I'm saying. I can't tell unless you're smiling at me or you're laughing with my jokes, then I know. But we know the mind's presence. You can't see it, but you know it. Correct? Does that make sense? You can't see it, but you know. So those are the 11 senses. So these senses are sometimes called instrumentals. Just like here is my big Mahakartals. These are an instrument. They can't play themselves. But once I pick them up and I go, now they make a beautiful sound. So the senses are like instruments. So therefore, in the composition of the shloka, Rishikena is the instrumental case. In Sanskrit, there are 8 cases: nominative, ablative, dative. One of them is the instrumental, used with the word with or by. That's called the instrumental case. So Rishikena, the root word is Rishika, meaning senses, instruments. But once you say Rishikena, then it means with your senses, by your senses. Now comes the most important. Please repeat. Rishikesha Sevanam. Yes. So now, again, Rishika. But now it's Rishika Isha. And those who have studied Gita, you know who is Rishika Isha. He's here in your temple, front and center. Shyama Sundara, RadhaRamanji. There is your Rishika Isha, master of the senses. So with your senses, Rishikena, Sevanam, you all know that word, Sevanam, to do service. Prabhupada writes in his first canto, Bhagavatam purport, service is the most congenial form of intimacy. Husband and wife, I know you all are ideal husband and wife because you serve each other, correct? Yes. You serve each other nicely. You're not selfish. No. You're always thinking, how can I serve my partner or my friend? So, Narada is saying, with your senses, serve the master of the senses, Rishikesha, Krishna, God. That is bhakti. When you use your instruments to serve him. So now, the intelligent question is, how do I serve the Lord, the master of the senses? That's the next question. How? And for that, there are two very similar answers. First, I'll do the singing. Shravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Pada Sevana Dasyare Pujana Sakijana Atmani Vedana Govinda Dasa Abhilashare. So the author of this song, Govinda Das, put at the end of his RadhaRaman, very famous bhajan, known all over the world now. Prabhupada himself recorded that bhajan. I think I have 4 or 5 different recordings of Prabhupada singing that song, because it's also one of my favorites. I want to brag a little bit, but back in 2005 or 6, I was in Santiago de Chile, and I did a program amongst Sindhi, mostly. No, there was some South Indian. Anyway, mixed crowd, Indian and Chilean. I gave a 2-hour lecture on RadhaRaman. I was on fire that day. Don't worry, I'm not going to do that. I have to end by 1:45. Don't worry. I only save that for rare occurrences. I have to be fired up. I'm almost fired up, but I would need more audience to get really fired up. So Govinda Das put in the archaic Bengali language the 9 processes of bhakti. And where did he get that from? He got that from Prahlad Maharaj. Because we know the history. Prahlad was a 5-year-old boy. And he was going to the University of Asuras, headed by the 2 sons of Shukra Acharya, who was the Purohit for Hiranya. That's interesting. Hiranyakashipu is the Adi Asura, the original demon, and even he has a spiritual master. And still I hear people, I don't need a spiritual master. I don't. Think about it. So he had Shukracharya's 2 sons instructing Prahlad. So like any good father, one day, Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad, come. Sit on my lap, my son. And of course, Prahlad was very gentle and mild. Prahlad was so obedient, but he was self-realized. And his father questioned him. My son, tell me, you have been going to that school. Tell me, what are you learning? And the boy, without any hesitation, said, that school? I'm not learning anything in that school. I'll tell you what I know is the topmost education. Tan manye ditam uttamam, the exact Sanskrit shloka in the Bhagavatam. What is the topmost education? Here they are. Shravana kirtana, smarana vandana, pada sevana dasyare, pujana sakijana. Now I'm going back. So let's see. Shravanam kirtanam smaranam bandhanam pada sevanam archanam vandhanam dasyam sakyam atmanave. There you go. So he lists 9 processes. And Prahlad said, these 9 processes of bhakti, navalakshana, 9, sometimes I like to use the word flavors, because they're different. But Prahlad told his father, anyone who engages in any one or more of these 9 processes, he has received the topmost education. That's why I did not go to college. And that's a whole nother story. But how did I get my higher education? When I joined the ISKCON temple in 1973, and for the next so many years, every day, morning Bhagavatam class, evening Gita class, and reading in between. And so little by little, year after year, reading and studying and chanting, I got my PhD in Krishna consciousness. Yes. Haribol. Now you may say, what is your PhD in Krishna consciousness? Well, I will answer that. May Krishna bless you, Madam. Haribol. I will answer that because this question was posed to Lord Chaitanya's Mahaprabhu's servant. That how does someone know that they have received the mercy of the Lord? What's the proof? Anyone can say, I've got the Lord's mercy. Okay, that's good. But what is the proof? And the answer is given. Knowledge, actual knowledge of the Supreme Lord is proof that you have received the mercy of the Lord. That's why I do what I do for the past 30 years or more. All I'm trying to do is give you the knowledge of Godhead. That's it. That's all I have to do. I don't have to do anything else. Whether I use a computer or not use a computer isn't the question. The question is, am I delivering the knowledge? That's what matters. This is a problem in Kali Yuga. We get hung up on form rather than substance. It happens all the time. They critique the form, the format, but they overlook what is actually being said. What's the substance? Sri RadhaRaman ki jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai. Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Gaur Premanande. RadhaRaman Vedic Temple ki. Prabhupada ki jai. So, Prahlad Maharaj, now before this, because Prahlad was questioned a couple of times by his father. And the first time he was questioned, Prahlad said to his father, you know what? Someone like you should give up your kingdom. You should go to the forest. And he actually said, you should go to Vrindavan and give up your nonsense demoniac life. Can you imagine a 5-year-old boy telling his father to give up the kingdom and go? But that's Prahlad. Fearless, that song. Abhaya Charanara Vindare. Fearless. How? How do you get fearless? Do you have to go on Amazon.com? I'll take 2 liters of fearless? No. Here's how to get fearless. Abhaya Charanara Vinda. You become fearless at the lotus feet of Krishna. You take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. What did the Pushti Margi say? Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Correct? Yes. Sharanam. Take shelter. You don't like the word surrender? I don't like the word surrender either. So, the other meaning, shelter. Take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. That distinguishes the devotee and the non-devotee. The devatas, the demigods, they take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Just read Srimad Bhagavatam. Time and time again, when the demons become too much, where do they go? Oh Lord, save us, help us. They run for the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. But the modern man, I don't need Krishna. Fool. Fools and rascals, thinking they're independent. But the devotee, the demigod, he or she takes shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. So let's go through these 9 processes and learn more about Bhakti Yoga. All in favor say, Hari Bol. Jai. So the first process, Sravanam, which, by the way, you're doing it right now. You're hearing the message of Godhead. This is different from CNN or Fox Noise or whatever. No. This is transcendental vibration. Why? We're talking about God, the Supreme, transcendence, Adhoksaja. That's one of my favorite names of God. Everybody say, Adhoksaja. Adhoksaja means, with your blunt senses, you will never see God with your blunt senses. What's the proof? If we bring in non-devotee off the street to the temple, what will he or she think? Oh, these crazy people are worshiping statues. But you don't worship statues, do you? I don't worship statues. I worship God, not a statue. This is not a statue. It's God. But you have to have the vision. How do you get the vision? By hearing from Acharya. That's how. I've given the example many times. Here is my agua pura, my pure water. Now, say for example, before I started, I had to use the bathroom. So somebody may have come in and put poison. And my wife could see from the So when I come back, she goes, no. And I'm going, what are you, it's just this water. She goes, no, there's poison. So by that sound vibration now, this is not water, it's poison. All because of hearing. So when you hear from the Acharya, when you hear from the spiritual master, now you get different vision. You get a transcendental vision. You're not on the gross bodily platform of life. Now, because of hearing, you see differently. So this hearing, Shravanam, from the Acharya, from the Guru, from the Shastras, that's the beginning of your spiritual journey, which is something I have harped on and repeated 1 billion times. Forget, I have been preaching since 1973. I have a few miles on my tires here. I've been all over the world. I preached in this circumstance, that circumstance, Hindu, non-Hindu, Americano, that all over the world. How is that? I simply have to hear from my spiritual master and repeat the message. And Prabhupada said, anyone can be guru. Anyone. Just repeat what Krishna says. That makes you guru. You don't need a big beard. You don't need to wear fancy silk. No. You hear from Vedas, you hear from Guru, and just repeat. That's all. Same thing Lord Chaitanya told that Kurma Brahmana. The Kurma Brahmana wanted to leave his family and go with Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya said, no, you don't have to take sannyas. Yeah, you don't have to. I'm not going to take sannyas. Why should I? I have the goddess of fortune taking care of me. Why should I take sannyas? There's no need. So he told the Kurma Brahmana, stay as you are, a householder, but repeat the message of Krishna as it is. What did Prabhupada entitle his Gita? Bhagavad Gita as Prabhupada? No. Bhagavad Gita, thank you. Yes. I was listening to a lecture Prabhupada gave in 1966. And he was saying to people in New York, the first people coming, that he said, Gandhi, he had his own interpretation on Gita. It was not Gita as it is. It was Gita according to Mahatma Gandhi. Prabhupada said, that is the problem. Everybody's using Gita for their own purposes. Prabhupada said, no, I'm going to write Bhagavad Gita as it is. Straight sauce. So that's why I chanted, I'm doing this now, before every lecture. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Te Korea Aikya Arna Korea Mahniyash. I simply want to hear the words of my spiritual master, make them one with my heart, and then, as his servant, distribute. So the first process is hearing. So in your spiritual journey, if you ever get lost, if you ever get confused, go back to square one and start hearing from the authority. That's how you get what is called course corrected. Like you've had that, I've had the experience. You get lost driving. So, you do what you have to do, GPS, this and that, and get back on track. So the same way, you lose your way on the spiritual path, hearing. And of course, my favorite, the process that I add, the 10th, prasadanam. That's also very important. Prasadanam. That's why I got married. I know what I was doing. Best prasad in the three worlds. Then after hearing what is the proof that you've heard, you want to chant. You want to speak. You want to glorify. You want to enthuse, enliven, encourage others. That's the sign that you have actually heard. When you have actually heard, the next step, put it into action. And you speak it, you chant it, you glorify it, you repeat it, you give it. Now, according to the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, there is great benefit for distributing transcendental knowledge. What is it? Okay, so Madan, my good friend Madan, he just gave me a little donation. Thank you, Madan. Now, I'm not going to tell you the amount. It's not necessary. But whatever the amount of this check is, his account is that much lower. But when we come to spiritual life, if you give all that you have in your account, at the end of the day, your account doubles. You know any investment that does that? No. You give out, and at the end, your account has increased. Has increased. Why do you think my wife encourages me to do this for the past so many years? Because she knows, yes, I have sent my husband out for preaching, but I get half the benefit. Yes, that's what Prabhupada has taught. Yes. Half the benefit for sitting home. Well, she does a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. But as in terms of the spiritual activity, transcendental activity, she gets half the benefit. Then the third process, remembering that if you hear and chant and hear and chant and hear and chant, little by little, what flows from your veins, Hare Krishna, Krishna, or so many shlokas and verses. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed. We have one very nice Purohit here, Keshava. And if you notice, as he's walking around, he's chanting shlokas. Have you all noticed that? I pick up on that right away. Yes, that's my business. Embarrass people. Yes. But that tells me he's Krishna conscious. Because whatever goes in is going to come out. Whatever you are hearing, that's what's going to come out. So when I hear him, like today he was chanting shlokas from the prayers of Queen Kunti, I was thinking, wow, he is Krishna conscious. Like that. So by constantly hearing and chanting, you come to the stage of remembering. And we all know, remembering is actually the final examination at the time of death. Can you remember Krishna? Now, I have reached my time limit. I could have gone on for another hour, but I have to obey the temple authorities. Otherwise, I won't be invited back. So, I just want to finish up by mentioning, some of you may know, some of you may not know, that a devotee, many of you know, Leelavati Devi Dasi, Leena Parekh. Last week, she left her body on Vamana Dwadasi. And I asked her daughter and her son-in-law to say something about her passing away. And what they wrote is simply beautiful. Please listen, because this is how all of us should aspire. So this is from her son-in-law, Sri Galoka. The morning before Lilavati passed away, she asked to be moved in front of her deities at home. And she had worshipped those deities her entire life. We positioned her bed right in front of the deities, and after a night of pain, the next morning during Vamana Dwadasi, she didn't drink or eat. She was simply focused on chanting and praying. We had a recording of Prabhupada chanting playing in the background, and also a photo of her spiritual master, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami. She also had a Narasingha Kavacha, little thing you wear, attaches. You see people, devotees, with a silver little thing, and they have some kind of Vrindavan dust or something in there. And she had a pavitra. This is called a pavitra. You'll see I always wear this for my preaching. It's called a Nasringa pavitra. It's for protection from the evildoers. Yes. So she had that. Then she also had garlands from Rukmini Dwarkadish in the LA temple. And those garlands were offered during Radhashtami. And she also had jewelry from the deities in New Dwarka. And of course, she had tilak and kuntimal. Her daughter, Radha Mohini, which you might know as Rupal, but her initiated name is Radha Mohini, decided to chant 16 extra rounds for her mother because it was not possible for her in this condition. And Sri Galoka says that he had promised to help her finish reading the Bhagavatam. So when Radha Mohini finished the extra 16 rounds and Sri Galoka finished the Bhagavatam recitation, she left her body. And how did she leave her body? Crying out. Everybody say, Govinda, Madhava, Damodar, and gave up her life. Just like that. So I sent this message that I got from them to my good friend, His Holiness Badri Narayan Swami. He is in San Diego. And this is what he wrote. He wrote a very interesting response when he read. He wrote, "This is most auspicious. Reminds me of the passing of Bhishma Dev. There is no doubt that she has gone back to Krishna's lotus feet." If you agree, say, Hare Krishna. Jai. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. So I'm over time. Please forgive me. And I had lots more to say, but thank you very much. And now we will have the japa class.